Hi everyone, Sandy Wilkin here from Jackson, Ohio. Today I have another one of my junk journals I've made in my Victorian series. I've been doing some Victorian journals. This one is a Victorian sewing journal. So I wanted to show you this. I have a headband with flowers on it. I think maybe I got that several years ago and had it in my stash, and I just thought, well, that would just be so pretty on this journal because it kind of goes along with the flowers and everything. So I'm going to take that off. And this journal I made from a spiral bound journal that I found at a thrift store. And it was perfect because it had sewing stuff here and some scissors and a little sewing machine, and it even said the word journal down there. So I put another little plate on the front and made Victorian sewing journal. So this was perfect. I didn't have to do anything about covering this, and the back was nice too, so I didn't have to cover that. But I did add this little flower, burlap and lace flower with a little jewel in the middle there, and then of course the closure. So let's get into this journal and take a look at it here. First of all, this was already like this with the scissors and stuff on the cover, so I didn't have to do anything, except I did find a picture of some sewing items in a sewing magazine. I think it might have been an embroidery magazine or something. And then I always put my little plate this book belongs to right there. And then I started out with a pocket that I made from, again, a needlepoint magazine, and used this real pretty paper here to cover this page. And then I added a tag that was made by my friend Rhonda Binkley. This is one of her tags. She makes tags and puts them in the American Vintage Warehouse in Chillicothe. She has a little booth there that she has her cards and tags and stuff she makes, and I get a lot of her stuff. Rhonda Binkley's her name. She's quite the artist. And then a little sewing. Sewing is my therapy, a little piece of ephemera with a sewing machine. This embroidery piece had a lady's dress there, dress form, and an old sewing machine and some dresses and stuff and hat box there in the closet. Next page is always put up a page for the story begins. I have a stamp for that. I used a stamp for that, and a little stamp in the corner, and I had a little bunch of little cutouts that I'd cut out of magazines that look like an old-fashioned quill pen for your writing. Next page is some Victorian ladies in their finery here. I cut that out of a magazine and put that on this page, decorated that up. Next page is a journaling spot again with a cutout of an old-fashioned shoe. And then on the next page is a little cutout of a sewing machine. I bought a package of these different cutouts, and they had all kind of little cutouts, and sewing machine was one of them. And I love this paper. I can't remember what paper pack I got that in, but it had the dress form already in there, so it was very Victorian looking there. And then I had this little kitty cat, a piece of ephemera. It says spool of silk, and the cat's getting into the spool of silk and unraveling it there in the little thread. Here's an old postcard from, I don't think I can find the date on there, but it's a pretty old postcard. Has a 1-cent stamp on it, and I don't see the date on there, but it's an old one. Anyway, and it's got a lady, a Victorian lady, in her little fur hat and cape and everything there. So that goes down in the tuck space. And then just a little ticket that I made with a stamp of an old key, that in there. Okay, the next page is another writing spot. This time I put a little, I had a little notepad. It was, had little flowers on it. It says something about Paris there. So I added a little stamp. I had an old-fashioned shoe stamp, so I put that on there. So this is journaling page. This is a ledger paper that I folded, and it makes a pull-out. Says, until you spread your wings, you have no idea how far you will fly. So there's a stamp that I put in there. Added a little dress form, and then on this side, that pulls out that way. So again, there's another writing spot, a to-do list. Then on the next page is an old greeting card. Looks like an old Valentine card, across the miles. But I just loved the little flower thing on here. And then and then you can open the card up. That's what I like about this, is you can actually open this up and you get all this journaling space. So inside that card, you got all that space to journal on. Then here, the next page is a pocket that I added a little pin cushion on, and inside that pocket, I used a piece of paper that had buttons all over it. I just love that. I found that in a magazine. And then I put in ephemera. Here's a greeting card that has a little sunbonnet baby, and it looks like it's quilted. I think that's so cute. And here's a little piece of ephemera that is looks like it's been an old a needle book, but it's just a replica of the needle book. And then this is a little journaling card that I put a heart on. Put that in there. Okay, the next page is another journaling spot, just a note, and I use the stencil here on this. Sometimes if you want to, if you have plain pages and you want to just use stencils, it makes it kind of nice. It takes the whiteness away a little bit from it. Then this next page is a belly band. I used a piece of, let's see, I was going to say it might be, I think that was supposed to be, yeah, it's a double belly band. This is a piece of lace here, and then this is a piece of craft paper that had like these fake buttons on it, and they were like three-dimensional. So I thought that made a perfect little second belly band. And so I put this little button card. That's another piece of ephemera that's not old. And then I had this little pocket tag. And I think that's another one of Rhonda Binkley's tags that she made me at one time. And then it goes right down in this little holder that matches. I can get it back in there. There we go. Whoops, came back out again. Yeah, and then that goes in the belly band in the back. And then here is an old-fashioned postcard with doll clothes. And I think that came from Yesteryear's Museum in Sandwich, Massachusetts. It shows doll clothes of the 1830s, dolls and doll clothes. So that one, that old postcard, you can journal on the back of that postcard. And then the next page is a little note card that flips up. It says just a little note, and I put some decorations on the front of it. And then you can write inside that. It's a flip-up writing spot. Here's a picture from an old catalog. I don't think this is an original catalog, but it's an old reprint of a catalog, but it shows gowns and coats for the winter in 1897. Some of the fashion that the ladies wore. And on the next page is another journaling spot. It's your day. And then on the next page, I have an envelope that I've put some cutouts on. And that opens up, and there's another one of those die cuts. All these came in a little package. I can't remember where I bought that little package of die cuts, but it was really cool. And then this folds down. I only had it fold down. I only have 2 envelopes this time. A lot of times I'll have 3, but this one had 2. And put some stickers to decorate. And here is a journaling card. It says Grace on it, and it's got some sewing tools on it. So that's a journaling card in that envelope. And you can put anything you want in these little envelopes. But I just put a couple of journaling cards. It says cute as a button. And that's another cutout I made from a magazine. And so that goes back up and this goes down. And then I left a space at the top of that envelope to make a pocket. So here's an old forget-me-not postcard. Again, that doesn't have anything on the back, so you could journal on that. And then another little tag with a rose on it. Back in there. And then the next page is a fabric flip. Let's flip it up. This was some fabric that had yardsticks on it, or measuring tape. And then I put some of my lace up there at the top that I have, and then you can slip up there and journal. Then this is from an old, I think Sears and Roebuck catalog, or reprint, and this was about advertised sewing machines. $15 for that sewing machine at that time. And then that was a flip out. So you can see there was our new library table sewing machine, and it shows that picture of that sewing machine. It was $29.95 at the time. And the next page is another journaling spot with a few stickers on it, envelope and a lady and an old quill pen. Here is a picture of a beautiful quilt, patchwork quilt. I thought that looked nice in there. And then the next page is a card of a lady, looks like a Victorian lady and her little child, and you can open that up and it says just a note, and it's another journaling spot. Here's another little journaling spot, a note for you. There's another one of those little cutouts. And this is music paper, staff paper that I glued on there this time for that one. And then the next page is another envelope that I have used as a, you can open that up, and it's a pocket there. And then inside that is a Victorian lady with her hat, $1.19 for that beautiful hat, journaling card. That back this way. And then I made that into a pocket, and inside that pocket, this is another pretty paper with all those old-fashioned scissors. I love those scissors that look like a bird. I have a pair of those scissors. And here is a card. I bought a bunch of these with envelopes from a thrift store, and they had all these really different kind of old-fashioned shoes on them. I just love that. So that's a journaling card. And then here is a little piece of ephemera. It says kind thoughts. It looks like one of those little cards that calling cards or something. It says, though short is the verse I send unto thee, all thou wouldst desire, may thine ever be. It's got some pretty flowers on it too. So that's old. That's an old piece of ephemera. Then here's another one of those beautiful paper that I had in that paper pack. And I love this. So I just cut a piece of it and made a tuck spot or side pocket. And in that, I put this little thing here that tells you grandmother's flower garden of French bouquet quilt, or French bouquet quilt. So it talked all about that kind of a quilt. It's beautiful. And then here on the other one was the new pair of applique bonnet babies quilt pattern. This came out of an old sewing book. And then here is another postcard. Shows an old-fashioned doll and a little tiny cook stove, child stove. And that again was from that Yesteryear Museum in Sandwich, Michigan. Again, you can journal on that. So those went inside that little side tuck or pocket. And then the next page was a journal spot. I have a stamp that says journal, and some more of that other little stamp at the bottom there. The next page is a lace pocket. I love this old lace with the little flowers on it. It's just real old looking. So I made a pocket out of that, put another strip of this kind of lace to make it look sort of like a belly band. Actually, it is a belly band pocket. So I could probably put this little tag through the belly band there. And then this, I love this paper. Again, this came from a book that had sewing stuff. It had buttons So these are buttons on this paper. And this is another real cute little journaling card. Put that in the pocket. Then the next page is another journal spot with some stenciling up here and a stamp that I have of a key, an old-fashioned key. This is a large envelope that I glued in, and you can open that up and put whatever you want in there, pictures, photographs, memorabilia. Here's an old vintage greeting card to dearest mother. I love the way that was made with that old ribbon and then this foil. They don't make them like that anymore. And again, this is another kind that you can open up if you wanted to. Not really, you can't open this one up on this because of that ribbon there, but you could journal any place you wanted to on that if you wanted to journal. I don't think I would though because it's so old. And then put anything else you want in that pocket. I don't think I have anything else down in that pocket. That envelope, I mean. A pretty piece of crocheted butterfly from a crochet magazine, and just went with those colors in this envelope. And then on the next page is another journal spot. There's another stamp I have that says journal. Some stickers, typewriter and envelopes, some books. Then here is a little side pocket again, or tuck space with, that looks like one of those envelopes. It's part of one of those envelopes. I must have cut it down and used this part as the pocket. And then a sewing machine sticker. It's like a plastic 3-dimensional sticker. I probably got those at the Dollar Tree. And here is a journaling card that says unforgettable. You could put unforgettable moments or something on that. And then here is a kind of like a bookmark. Wilson dress hook talks about, you could journal on that. And then this is a little piece of ephemera that's a remake. It's not old. And it shows a gentleman with his buttons on his shirt there. Another journaling spot, plenty of journaling spots in here. And see, these pages were already in this book. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to add those because they were part of the book that I bought at the thrift store. And that put Inspire there with some more quill pens. This is from an old, I think, embroidery or, magazine, and it had crocheting, doilies and so on and so forth. This was a pattern one. And then the next page is again another journaling spot with some scissors and a little sewing machine. Here's another belly band. This is a ribbon. This is some really cool ribbon that I used. It looks like it's needlepoint. And I glued it onto a piece of cardstock to make it, more sturdy. And then this is an old needle book. Happy Home Rust-Proof Needle Book. It's even got some of the old needles in there, and the little needle threader is in there too. So that's an old one. That's probably a collectible piece. So that goes back in that belly band. And then this is another cutout of a magazine of a sewing machine and sewing notions that I got. It says the Peerless Sewing Machine, circa 1880. And then you can journal on the back of that little card. That goes back in the belly band too. And then the next page is another journaling spot. It says cherish the moment. And this page was an envelope. How did I do that? I made a tuck spot on this side, and then I glued that down, and then on the other side, the envelope opens up. So you can use this. I had this for photos or any other memorabilia or keepsakes you want to put in there. I stuck a few things in. Let's see what I got in there. I got a tag with the bird on it. A journaling card says just a line. I just love these old cards. I got a packet of those, and they had all kind of cute little things on there. And then here is a memories, so many memories, piece of vellum. And then another old doll, again from that museum. You can journal on all that. or you can put it someplace else in the book, whatever you'd like to do with all that little bit of stuff there, ephemera. And then on the other side, in the tuck that the envelope was glued to, there was a beautiful picture. Again, I think this was from a needlepoint book. It was beautiful. And then these went in there as a little calling card, millinery shop, and a tag that I put together with some pictures from a magazine. So those went in that tuck space. And then the next page was a picture that I cut out of a magazine that had all these old-fashioned pictures and buttons. The buttons were holding the pictures down, so they might have made magnets out of those buttons. The next page was a Stitch in Time. It's a little circle cut out from probably a needlepoint magazine. And then I made that into a little pocket and put this little snappy snaps. Again, this is not original, but it's a sewing piece. And then a little notepad, sort of, with a few notepads. It's a Paris, it says Paris Special Fabrique Spéciale, whatever. And then this is an 1885-1889 Harper's Bazaar magazine page. And then I made a side pocket there, a little side corner pocket, and put in, this is a magnet, Crown Prince Coffees, an advertisement for coffee, and that's kind of a tag board. It's really nice. And then this is a little tiny needle book. Isn't that one cute? It's darling. That's probably old too. And then this is a piece of ephemera. This is another little needle book that I just slid over the top of that. Oh, it's a needle threader. August Thomas needle threader. And then I just kind of slipped that down in there like that, and then put in the postcard and the other little rose needle book. And in the next page is where you can put your good memories, finish up. And then the last page is a little pocket here. And in this pocket, it looks like a quilt. And again, this was already on the back of this. I didn't have to do anything to that. It's just perfect the way it is. And then I just added a few stickers to a guest check. Of course, you can journal on the back of that. And then here was favorite moments again. And then an old-fashioned card with little children in this old card. I just love this. And I think that opens up. Or it did. It's to open right now. I don't know why it's not wanting to open, but it's not, unless I took that part off and just had, oh, I think I did. I think I just used that little card and maybe took the other part off. And that's the end of my Victorian sewing journal. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.